Welcome to Soapbox Interview from Sat Media. I'm Matt Skeetsa, and today I'm here with Latasha Fields.
Hi, Matt.
Latasha, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
So, can you give us an idea? First of all, give us a little bit about an idea about yourself,
Okay.
uh, what position you're running for,
hmm
and most importantly, why you're running for that position.
Okay. All right. Again, as you said, I'm Latasha Fields. I am, first and foremost, I'm a wife. I'm a minister, evangelist of Christ. And, maybe the third thing I'm most proud of, I'm a homeschool mom. My
Very
husband
good.
and I, we've been homeschooling for 15 and a half years now. We have 4 children. We homeschooled our oldest daughter from 4th to 12th grade. And so she finished college 3 years ago. She lives in Connecticut, so we're trying to get her back home. And I have three more, 15, 12, and 6, 2 boys and a girl. And I'm also the Illinois State Coordinator for ParentalRights.org. And I'm running for Lieutenant Governor alongside Max Solomon for governor. Yes.
Very good. So, I noticed a lot, there's a little theme. You have a lot of kids,
Yeah.
and you mentioned one of the agent or organizations you're running with. It's
Yeah, well, I'm the Illinois State Coordinator for ParentalRights.org.
for
Yeah.
parental rights. And
hmm
obviously, with the way things are happening here in Illinois, especially over the last couple of years
Yes.
now, parental rights doesn't seem to be a place. Illinois is not a place for parental rights.
Yes. So my husband and I, we're originally from Louisiana,
Hmm.
and so we've been in Illinois for 10 years. The Lord sent us here, literally for evangelism, for ministry. So
Okay.
I enjoy being here because of how God has, if you will, sent us here to do the work. And so, literally from a biblical perspective, being a Christian, you're absolutely right. Parental rights have not been welcomed into Illinois. Our God-given rights have not been protected, if you will, here.
Hmm.
And so my fight has been for over 15 years to really bring that back into the education system, bring that back into the home, and even the church needs to blow the trumpet more, if you will, have a clarion call more of how important our God-given rights are. And so that is the biggest thing that I can bring to the people of Illinois, literally, seriously, my heart, that we have to put parental rights on the forefront. Because as we know, there are so many things happening in the state of Illinois and across the country where parental rights are literally being threatened and parents are not having the right to guide the care and education of their children. And as a homeschool mom, I understand it from the core of my being, how important it is for parents to have that autonomy because they're their children. They're my children. And no one loves your kids more than you do. No one
Exactly.
cares. No one can possibly understand a parent's position for their children. And that's why it's God-given, because as a woman, the word of God say, the fruit of my womb is blessed, and I take that wholeheartedly.
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of attacks on the family, and so we have to, Illinois and leaders in the church, we have to be in a position to bring that authority back where it needs to be. It needs to go back into the home. We need to encourage and empower parents. And one thing I say all the time, and God showed me this, we can't put the cart before the horse, if you will.
Hmm.
So parents, the family unit has to be empowered. And when we empower the most vital, the most fundamental aspect of who we are, then it's inevitable that our communities and our city and our country will change.
Now, like when you mention the family,
Mhm.
one of the things you look around, a lot of the churches, even Christian churches, aren't really emphasizing the family anymore.
No.
There's organizations out there that strive to get rid of the family in a sense. And for example, Black Lives Matter, if you look at their pillars of the organization, it almost literally in black and white says the destruction of the changing or the destruction of the family.
Mhm.
So when you have those kind of elements at work, what do you do?
I think it goes back to what I said. We have to be a voice of reason for that, and so we have to have leadership from all spectrums to begin to rally against those voices that are bringing destruction. And you're absolutely right that the destruction of the family is one of Black Lives Matter 13 guiding principles. And so they want to destroy the Western prescribed nuclear family. And I say all the time, there's two things wrong with that. First of all, it's not Western prescribed. It's God ordained, right?
Yes.
And secondly, you cannot destroy, if you will, or disrupt the nuclear family. And another thing that's heartbreaking to me in terms of their 13 guiding principles is the transgenderism You know,
Yes.
yeah, because this is an organization that has the cliche that Black Lives Matter, if you will. And I tell, you know, the Black community, my family, whomever will have an ear to hear, we don't need an organization to tell us our lives matter. Of course, we agree with the statement, but we don't need an organization that literally has its tentacles to destroy our families. And so going back to the transgenderism, it says that they want to especially exalt the Black transgender woman. And so then I ask people when I'm speaking, when you think about that biologically, a Black transgender woman is a biological male.
Yes.
And so they are teaching these things in the school system. And so we don't want our Black boys, our prince, to go to school and now he's coming home with an ideology that thinks he's a girl. And so that's further destruction of the Black family. And so we have to get those, I call them tentacles, because there's so many things happening.
Yes.
You know, and of course there's a root to it all, but I just call them tentacles. There are so many things happening just within the education system that we really need to continue, I would say, because I don't ever want people to think that no one is fighting, because there's a lot of people on the front line fighting. So we have to continue to unify and come together and really tackle these issues of what's happening with our children. And so that's the way my perspective is, if you will, in terms of the family unit. And that's only one issue
Right.
with Black Lives Matter, you know, in terms of that. But as you stated, they are very blatant. It's literally black and white.
Yes.
In terms of what they want to do.
So one of the things you obviously you're doing and you have done is you've homeschooled your children, but there's a lot of parents out there that that's really a difficult option. So, but it's probably a needed option. But for those that really can't, what would be your message to them?
Yeah, you're right. It's a hard thing. It
Yeah.
really is, because, you know, all of our hearts will want everybody to homeschool, you know,
Right.
especially when you look at the biblical principle according to Deuteronomy 6. You know, we are all commanded to diligently teach our children. And so America has done a grave injustice, if you will, in conditioning all of us to think that it's okay to outsource our children. It's okay to send them. And I think when we come back to the biblical principles, what we are commanded to do is to help one another. You know, what we are commanded to is to bear each other up, to lock arms and support each other. And so even though I homeschool my children, I have a homeschool co-op. And so I do teach other children in the community. And so that's my message, is to find a local homeschool group, create a local homeschool group that can help you, because a lot of these parents need help, because everybody's financial situation or economic situation, you know, their family dynamics is different, you know. And so we want to be able to support those families, you know, be it as a single family household, be it a two-parent household. And I think the resounding message is community. We have to support these families, you know. And I tell people, I have kids in my basement. There's only so many I can take, right? But I'm willing, and my husband's like, I'll just fill the house up top to bottom, you know, to help these families. And so that's my message for them, to, you know, get in touch with people like myself, because there's many fighting, many co-ops throughout the state of Illinois. You know, get on some of these websites and Google. But I'm here to help, that we can start these community co-op schools, is what I like to call them, because we want parents to be sacrificially invested again into their kids' lives, and we want the community to be invested again. We want our church leaders, our businesses, our philanthropists, individuals, we want our neighbors to care again about what's happening to our kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So until that, I guess you could say, wave of momentum carries through, and, you know, a lot of families start doing those type of things, you're still left right now with a public school system that, quite honestly, it's a failure. And it's not necessarily the teacher's fault.
No, absolutely.
You know, I was a former teacher, not long, but I was a former teacher, and I know a lot of teachers, and I understand the problems, the difficulties they are having, and they're subject to basically being told what to do, how to teach, what to teach. And you have things like genderqueer books that are in the libraries, Lawn Boy. You have policies like the 1619 Project. You have the sexualization of kids. And there are just so many issues that can confuse them. So let's look at that mess that is the public school system, and what do you do with that?
We have to remove all of that. That's number one. I will echo what Max Solomon says all the time. Day one, January 9th, 2023, those things have to go, right? As much as we can make them disappear. But yes, there has to be a reforming, right? And so we have to take these cultural ideologies, all these indoctrinations, they have to be removed from the school. And so here in Illinois, we don't really have a real school choice option here. And so that's one of the problems, because even right now, families could have some relief from a lot of these failing school districts if they just had viable school choice.
Right.
Now, I am definitely a proponent to say, I don't like to say just school choice and leave it at that. I like to say school choice without government infringement, right? Because we don't want our babies and our families to go to these different schools and still there's this government overreach. And then you're still left in the same situation that you're still in the same situation that you just left. And so we definitely want to make sure that education is reformed in Illinois. We have to get this cultural Marxist ideology, again, these tentacles of CRT, this false history of American history. We need authentic history. And I say as a black person, we don't need just black history. Black history is American history. So we need to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. We need to teach our children the totality of what has happened, because as we know, if they don't learn it, they're doomed to repeat it.
Right.
So I'm a proponent to teach it all. No one should be offended at this point. It hurts. Yes, it's not good. It doesn't feel good, but we have to teach it, right? So we need authentic history in the state of Illinois, in this country. And so we need to remove this perversion, this sexualization of our children, comprehensive sex ed. We have to get those things out. And I believe in my heart of hearts that whomever becomes the governor, because God has already chosen, right? God has already purposed who's going to be the governor of Illinois. I'm confident that through the Republican Party, through conservative values, that those tentacles will be removed out of our education system. So I'm hopeful to the parents for that. I'm very, very hopeful for that. And so in the meantime, in the process of time, we do need to open up more conversations for school choice, because right now, the choice that Illinois parents have is private, through the Invest in Kids program, where that's a tax credit scholarship program. Right. So we need to bring more attention to that, to get more people to donate and fund that program. And then again, with the public school, the portion that we do have that school choice, the money cannot follow the kid outside of their resident. And so just using Chicago as an example, unfortunately, there's a lot of school districts that are failing our children in the city of Chicago. And so those kids are trapped in those failing schools. They can't go outside of those school districts. So yes, wholeheartedly, that needs to be changed. And so with a parallel system of what I was speaking earlier, as we work to reform the public school system for those that want to keep their children in there, and I tell people, if you don't want to pull your kid out of public school, that still doesn't give this government or no administration to literally indoctrinate your kid. They still deserve a quality, morally sound education. But then we also want to create a parallel system that those that want community co-op school want a different option, a different perspective, a different look on schooling, if you will. And I like to say, like the homeschool way. If they want that option, we're going to present that option as well. I think it's more freedom on that side.
Sure it is.
I'm biased, right, with the whole homeschool thing.
And so right is right.
Right is right, right? So we definitely want to create that parallel system where parents can enjoy the freedom and just having hands-on in terms of what their children are learning. Yes.
Yeah, very good. So, all right, let's roll it back a little bit. You're running for the lieutenant governor position, and there's probably a lot of people who don't quite understand the position. They think it's similar to what a vice president might be for the president. Okay, something happens to the president, then boom, I step in, I do the same thing. Yeah. But there's a little bit more to the position as well, as you're sitting in that position. And I think for every candidate that has a lieutenant governor, it might look a little different depending on what they're interested in. So for you, for the lieutenant governor position, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I'm learning that it is a great position. And it has a lot of flexibility, absolutely. So you're right. Every lieutenant governor, he or she has the flexibility to, if you will, to shape that office, right? There's a lot of liberty in that office. But just looking at the core principles of that office, basically the LG will definitely deal with education. right? We'll deal with the military. We'll deal with the farmers market. We'll deal with the rural cultural aspects of that office. We'll deal with housing and definitely economic empowerment. And so those are the weightier matters of the LG office. And I just, when I got the call to be nominated, when I was nominated, my heart just bust, because it's like, oh my God, all that is things that I love already, that, because my background is real estate, so housing is there, my husband and I are entrepreneurs, so economic and business is there. My daughter has a degree in nutrition and farming, so I'm learning from her, with the farmers market, so that's in there. And so it's just a beautiful office. It really is. And again, there's so much reach that you can do in terms of, and I would just say this, to me, it's just like that office from my heart, it puts me in a position of mothering. It just gives you that opportunity to just mother the people of Illinois. It's like, let the governor deal with all the tough issues, right?
Exactly.
That's what the father does, right? Let the governor deal with all the tough issues, and I'm going to just come in and love on the people, and we're just going to cultivate and nourish these issues over here, And so that's what the LG office is about, just really filling in the gap for those areas that tend to be kind of left behind, just really focusing in on that, really focusing in on family. Right. And that's what I'm starting to love about the office, as the more I learn about it, and just kind of, if you will, sense my uniqueness within the fabric of it. I'm getting excited.
Very good, very good.
I'm getting excited about it. Yes.
So if you think back like about a year ago,
okay,
and where you are now, did you ever imagine that you would be running as lieutenant governor?
No way. No way. To be honest, I know I'm on tape. I've never even thought about. And hopefully millions of other people haven't even thought about the LG department. I think Winsome Sears, Lieutenant Sears, I think she kind of put the LG kind of like in the spotlight for everybody. Right. It's like, whoa, what is the lieutenant governor, But no, it never, ever crossed my mind. And so to even piggyback off of that, the Lord dealt with me 2.5 years ago. Now, I was one of the speakers at a Black Families Matter rally in the south suburbs of Chicago with Dr. Eric Wallace. And we were, of course, protesting against Planned Parenthood, definitely pro-life, right? And so we're he arranged a rally for us to speak against Planned Parenthood, of how they're, basically destroying the Black family, And so Max was one of the speakers. I didn't know Max prior to that, and I was a speaker. A few other people were speakers, no big deal. Everybody just speaking, and I'm out there, I'm screaming my head off about education, what they're doing to our kids with education. Right. And so afterwards, there was a gathering at the Christian pregnancy center, where they're trying to encourage motherhood and adoption, and just a beautiful, beautiful clinic. And so we're just having a fellowship, and we're just all talking. Max, I meet him. I meet a lot of people. No big deal. So that was July 2019. November 2019, the Lord deals with my husband and I very prophetically. I have a dream that I will be dealing with Max in politics. So in the dream, we're literally dealing in politics and talking and everything. So I woke up, and I just said, because that's the way the Lord communicates with me. My whole life is been pretty much that trajectory of him speaking prophetically. And I told my husband, I said, well, we'll see what happens, because politics was knocking at my door, being vocal about homeschooling and parental rights, So I wasn't completely shocked, I didn't desire to be in an office, but I am willing to obey God to speak against those things that come against him, right? Exactly. And so we just prayed about it, and honestly, I forgot it. COVID hit, so ain't nobody focused on anything. But what is all this about, right? So nothing, no thought of it was there. Absolutely gone. And so then September 2021, I get an email. And the email was from Max 2022. And I tell Max, and I tell his story all the time, I deleted it. I thought it was spam, because it was just like this question mark, on the thing. And so I just hear the Holy Spirit say, Veris, I'll undo. And I heard and undid it. And then I read it. And again, I must say, just kind of ignorant to the whole LG thing. And so I'm reading the email, and it's telling me that I'm on a short list to be lieutenant governor. And so anybody that know me being me, my first thought was, nobody got my permission.
No one asked me.
Nobody asked me if I wanted to be on the short list, And so as I'm sitting there reading it, honestly, man, I began to cry because the dream came back immediately, and I was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to get in no politics, And
What'd you drag me into?
Yeah, I'm just like, oh no, I don't want to do that, And my husband was sick, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I woke him up, and I'm showing him the phone. He's looking at me like, yeah, get away, with that this time of night. And so, but the next day we talked about it, and we prayed, and I told all the homeschool moms, when everybody came for co-op, and we all just praying. Really, we was praying against it. I'm telling you, we was just like, I'm not getting involved in all that. No, God. And so, but I knew deep down inside, like, oh God. 30 days later, here I am, right? Max called me, and that I was nominated, and I felt honored. I'm very honored. I still feel honored. I'm very, very honored. But I'm honored from this perspective, that God would look down and see fit for me and my husband, because it's both of us. It's not me. We're a family. That he would see fit for my family to have any say, any leadership in governing his people. See, that's where the honor comes in at. To say, God, whatever you have done and still doing inside of me and my husband, my family, that we can be an example, if you will, to so many people.
Right.
That's what I'm honored at.
Very good. It's a neat story.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, all right, now we're going to go and jump into the future.
Okay.
And then we'll call it quits after
Okay.
that.
All right.
I would assume, of course, you want to be lieutenant governor. Max wants to be governor. And within, the perfect situation, you fix the state. And nobody wants to stay in politics. Most normal people don't want to stay in politics forever. And eventually you'll want to go back to do what you want to do. So that, Latasha Fields, what would you want to do after politics?
I think I will continue to do what I'm doing, because that's one good thing about me and the LG platform. I was already doing it. I have already been that voice for parental rights, that voice for education, that voice for family, that voice for economic empowerment, that voice for farming. I have, raised beds in my yard, and our homeschool group has gardening, So I would just continue to be who I am, just without the title. I'm going to continue to fight. And I tell people, I have a 6-year-old. I have a long way to go. And one day I'll be looking at grandkids, because my daughter's 25. My oldest is 25. So I will continue to be a voice.
Best of both worlds.
Yes. Praise God. So I will continue to be a voice. Continue. Yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
So thank you for sitting down with
thank you guys
me
for
today
having
here
me.
at SAT Media.
Yes.
And it's been a pleasure.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And we'll, sometime in the near future, we'll sit down, we'll talk some policy.
Yes.
But for now, this is great. And
Thank
again,
you.
thank you for joining us
Yes.
today.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bless you. Yes.
Thank you.